Proceed.
Hey.
Hey,
What's
what's up?
happening?
We
Elders of
back.
the block back at it again.
Beautiful
Yep.
faces.
For another one.
hmm Yep. So we got Blue in the house today. We missed you on the last one. You got the end of it, but we got you today.
Yes, indeed. I'm glad to be here. All
So
the scramble.
a Blue. So one of the things I wasn't prepared for is to give you a proper announcement because that was done in the first episode. But Blue, what are you doing in EOB on the board?
Man, so I am here as a program coordinator and workshop facilitator, coming to bring different perspectives, different opportunities, and different educational enlightenment.
Right on. And who else are you connected with out there?
Oh, wow. So I am connected with lots of different organizations, starting with our home-based organization, the Taz Foundation. Yes, yes. My little facilitator over here, he like, you better make sure you say the Taz Foundation. I'm like, all right. So the Taz Foundation, organizations like United Players, Urban Peace Movement, Stand in Peace International. I just was hosting the main stage for the Ella Baker Center for the Night Out for Safety and Liberation. I'll talk a little bit about that tonight. Urban Peace Movement, which is another organization that's in Oakland, California, that is all about educating the next generation on their rights and how to actively, charge their communities up with love and different strategies on how not to call the police and how to collectively work together to resolve issues that the community might be facing. Poor Magazine, Ashe, Decolonize Academy. There's so many organizations that I've been so blessed and fortunate to collaborate with and work with, and always looking to collaborate with others.
Right on. Hey, so thanks for tuning in, everybody. This is EOB right here, Elders of the Block. This is open game, quote unquote, open game. What does that mean, Chanel?
What does game mean?
What does open game mean?
You know what? I have no idea. But
What
this
does
is
it
what I
mean?
will say.
What does
No,
it mean
what
to you?
what what does it mean?
What does it mean to you?
Well, I feel like open game means that there is a plethora of opportunities for people. I just told someone today, I said, I can give you the game, but I can't put it in your brain. You're gonna have to do some work on your
Period.
own. So, I can lead you to it, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to do something too.
Mhm.
So I think it's all about what you're willing to do, the opportunities that you're willing to tackle, like myself. I see it and I want it, I go get it by any means necessary. So there are obstacles, but they are all defeatable.
Right. So speaking about open game, is anybody on here a chess player?
I got a little more work to do. I'm practicing.
All right, so that's one of the things that.
I'm a chess practicer.
Okay, there you go. Well, that's one of the
Yeah.
things that we're going to do anyway. Internally, Elders of the Block, we're going to create a chess team. Lex, you play some chess, huh?
Yeah. I'm.
Yeah, I know Poise plays. I'm still trying to catch up to him and whoop him. So
Are you
we're gonna
undefeatable, boys?
we're gonna find some time to get some games up in and talk about some chess. So open game is a term from the game of chess. And it's really like when you kind of get started in your game, you have a lot of room to begin with. And they consider that the open game. There's a couple of variations, open game that we use, for Elders of the Block for episodes of our show is a lowercase o for the fact that it's got a couple different meanings. So just wanted to throw that out there. Elders of the Block is interested in chess. We base our organization on a lot of chess pieces and tactics and strategies. So we're going to create a chess club. Anybody want to tap in and hit us up and let us know you're down, interested. This goes for anybody overseas, all around the United States. It doesn't matter. Let's reach out and connect on some chess. Who's got a topic for us to throw down? What we bring into the game today?
My topic's kind of heavy, so I'm gonna let somebody else go.
All right. So well, Lex, what you got, man?
Well, let's. I mean, I'm with Poise on the heavy, but you know what? Let's just go with heavy. Let's
do it. We heavy.
Y'all want to go with heavy?
Might as well, right? I mean,
yep, might as well.
I have a suspicion that you and I have similar genres that we like to discuss, but my topic is about the different stages of spiritual consciousness, and this is something I read from many different readings, but Michael Beckwith is kind of one that's the more familiar. Kind of like he breaks down the 4 stages of spiritual consciousness, and so those 4 stages are: the first stage of spiritual consciousness is victim consciousness, coming from a place where life is happening to you, like this, all these things are happening to me, bad luck or bad circumstances, they're all happening to you. We've all experienced victim consciousness. I'd imagine, I probably experience it on a daily basis. I stub my toe. Why is this happening to me? That kind of just base level consciousness of spiritual growth. The second stage is spiritual manifestation. And so that's like where you can look past the victim side of things and you can start to manifest things like, when you get past the pain or the suffering in life, and you start to enjoy yourself or have a good, things start to go your way a little bit. What you can find through spiritual connectivity and synchronicity is that you can, and this is kind of going into the law of attraction type of divinity. But when you start manifesting consciousness, it's like, I really want, like, I want $400 to come my way, and then boom, like tomorrow you get a call from your aunt and she's like, hey, happy birthday, and sends you $400. Things like that, where you start realizing that you can manifest consciousness. So then what ends up happening is that there are some famous rich people that have gotten to stage 2 spiritual manifestation of consciousness, but they never progress because they only manifest that power for themselves. Right? Like, I want to be rich. I want to be successful. I want to be famous, but they can never grow past stage 2 because they're always out for self. Which brings to the third stage, which is channeling consciousness. And these people are people who have gotten past the selfish aspect of learning how to manipulate manifesting consciousness and now realize that there's a bigger picture and that they've kind of found their purpose in life, and they think bigger than themselves, and whatever it is, they're here to serve the global, the kind of the mass consciousness, the collective consciousness, as you will. And so that's the third stage, is channeling consciousness. You could see people, philanthropists, activists, people who have their calling, they know what they're supposed to do, they're here for a purpose, and they trust that the energy, that the universe, that God, that everything has a plan, and that you're just an instrument of that. And then the fourth stage is God consciousness. So you basically have a total connectivity to everything and appreciation and love for everything around you. You are one with everything. You're just you're flowing with life. So anyway, that's my topic. I want to open it up to the group. What do you think about your thoughts on elevating consciousness on different levels? It's difficult to, we're not all in all 4 stages at once. Sometimes we bounce back to stage 1. Sometimes we're in stage 3. We're having a good day. What are your thoughts? Poise, I'll pass it to you.
Man, I'm gonna slam this one. Hey, just to be blunt and to the point, I love that topic so much because not only am I living in it full-heartedly and at full force, I've been living in it for a few years now. And what's so wonderful about how you broke down the 3 stages, Scribe and I lived together for a few years, and he got to witness a lot of the things that I'll be mentioning here and there throughout the shows, even before you bring this topic up. Not only have I'll just use this word for the sake of a better word, learn to, I don't want to say manipulate the universe or the energies or whatever, but I pretty much control them to my benefit. And I've come up with formulas how to even make things come to me even faster. I'll give you just one, and I have many, many of them. And I'm so happy once again that Scribe got to live with me for a while to see some of these things happen. Before I got off of Facebook, almost 2 years ago, I started practicing visualization, bringing things to me, you know, that I want, pretty much anything that I want. And I would make these videos of me skating around my neighborhood. And I would say, I'm going to give my baby 2 houses in 2 years. I said that for probably about 8 months. I think I found one video a couple of weeks ago. I've been looking for these videos, and I think I found one of me skating. And when I would skate past these houses in Milpitas, and I would say, my baby's going to get 2 houses, not 1, because she deserves 2. And literally, when we got to the 2nd year, well, we were creeping up on the 2nd year, so much that has happened, you know, to change everyone's lives. We all live different now. It seems like whenever I get to a point to where I'm really getting ready to put some good music out or getting ready to level up, something drastic will happen in my life. I've had 3 car accidents since I've been home. I've had 2 heart attacks. I can go on and on and on. But literally within a few months, right after the corona hit, me and my wife, we had planned to start looking into our house pretty much next year. And we decided to go on and do this a little sooner. Not only did we get 1 house, I'm focusing, I'm using my tools that I've developed on my own through self-visualization and a lot of other things that I'll talk about, but I don't want to take up all the time. But literally, after we purchased our first house, within months, we received another house, even though it came through a very bad unfortunate. But literally, before the 2 years was up, I have 2 houses now. I've just been out of prison for 8 years, but literally anything that I want, I can bring it to me. And I understand the connection between me, the God force, whatever you want to call it, the energy vibrations, whatever you want to call it. There are a lot of rules to the game that I like to give people that may not understand how to keep this, we'll call it a power or energy going. And a few of these rules are, they're very simple, but they're kind of hard to really, for most people to stand by them, because family members are involved. Basically, one of the rules is, in order to operate on this or with this force, is that you have to cut out all the negative people around you. You have to keep vibrating at a certain level at all times, even when bad things are happening to you. So I did this a few years before I even came home, literally cut out everybody negative in my life. And most of those people were family members. It's a certain energy that I go out with the intent every single day. And Scribe knows this, because I tell everyone who's close to me what I do on a daily. I go out every single day to do something good for a stranger. For me, it has to be a stranger. I don't know where this came from, but what's ever internal, it told me that it had to be a stranger. And the days that I don't go outside, I'll do something good for somebody in the house. It could be big or small. It doesn't matter of the quantity. It's the intent of what you're going out to do, to make someone's life better, to bring someone a smile, whatever the situation is, to eat with someone. I remember when I lived in Oakland, I used to every once in a while, you know, give money out to the homeless. And then one day I said, let me just go and eat with this person. So I went to a restaurant and literally sat down and ate with the person instead of just giving the person some money, you know, to let them know that you're a human. And I was once homeless because I lived in a transitional home. So when I started figuring out that these things that I would ask for, like, were literally coming to me, I've literally turned down like two brand new cars within the last 2 years. And I've watched all my friends since I've been home, you know, they come home and they want to get back into the life or back into living, and they buy these new cars, you know, and I'm riding a BART and I'm happy, you know, all over the Bay Area. And by me sacrificing not getting those two cars, now I have two houses, you feel me? Yeah. But literally, anyone that doesn't really know me, I can go real deep on this subject, and I didn't read most of these things. They literally just came out of me. I follow my instinct. I follow the universe, and it directs me. And literally every single thing that I ask for, it doesn't matter what it is. I know how to focus on it. I know how to meditate on it. I know how to live as if I already have it, which is a very important part. They say if you want to have money, you hang around people that have money. You walk as if you have money. You dress as if you have money. That's a lot of truth to that. In short, and I'll end with this, about 15 years ago, I was reading a book, and I've studied a lot of different religions, you know, when I was incarcerated, and the God concept and the religious concept was always a battle with me. And I read this one particular book, and it made everything so crystal clear to me, and that's what actually got me to tapping into this power. And the book basically said, imagine that all five of us are swimming in the ocean right now. And we're swimming 5 feet from each other. We're just dog paddling in this ocean right now. And we all have a little drop. Stand still right here. I'm gonna get this drop because you gotta see this. I'll be right back. All right, here we go. All right, back. I'm finna end this real short, but I wanted you guys to see the visual of this. I don't know what you call these, but you know these little drop things?
Yeah, eyedropper.
Exactly. So imagine all five of us, we're swimming in the ocean, and each one of us, we have this little dropper. And each one of us, we take one drop out of this ocean. And this is a scientific fact. Lexus, your drop is going to have something different, a totally different composition. Scribes is going to have something different, a totally different composition within that one drop. Blues, minds, everyone is going to have something different, but the drop came out of that same ocean. The ocean is quote unquote God, and we are the drops. When I really understood that, and I started reflecting on passages, there's this passage I never understood, where I thought it was just a metaphor, where they say, if only the faith of a mustard seed, that you could literally move a mountain. Well, this force or energy or whatever you want to call it has shown me that that's not a metaphor. It's a fact. Another thing is that you have to have total belief. Once you call it into existence, it has to be done. You can't question it. If you question it, you take from the energy. You can't question it. It's done. Once you call it into existence, it is done. You have to know that wholeheartedly. The energy, and I'm going to end on this, the energy that I go out with every day with the intent to do something good for someone, to bring a smile, so on and so forth, that's where the power lies at. It's actually inside of the love, and we can go a little deeper into that later. how the love connects to it, because I couldn't understand growing up when my mom was being abused by all the wrong men that she always picked. You know, when I was being attacked, shot at, stabbed, and all this crazy stuff, because we always stayed in the rough neighborhoods. What does love have to do with, you know, me starving? What does love have to do with these dudes beating the shit out of my mom every day? You know, I couldn't understand that connection. But love is also one of the biggest parts of using this force and this energy to pretty much operate with your God force. And I'm going to leave on that note. So I love that topic, and we're gonna chop it up on that privately, bro, because I got stories for you.
Yeah.
I got stories. Yeah, that's real. That's one of the realest things that I believe that we could actually talk about. And one more thing that I want to say, a reason why I bash religion so much and preachers and fathers or whatever you want to call them, because they know about this power. And they keep you from it by making you think that their connection is closer to this force than yours. And that's the biggest fucking hoax. That's why we sit low and they're up high on these crews and we're looking up at them and we go down to get touched by them thinking that they have some power that we don't have. All bull. All bull.
Not the truth.
Hey, so with that being said, so Lex, the 4 different types of consciousness that you brought up, where would somebody like the Pope fall into place there?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I mean, I think that my personal take on it is that everybody can like oscillate between those 4 different stages, that we're all spiritual beings and we're all connected to the source. My personal take is that, you know, that we're probably born at stage 4 in God consciousness, because they say that when you're born, you know, you're the most connected. You're actually scientifically, yeah, right. Scientifically, your brain is the most absorbing sponge is when you're an infant, and then as you get older, you lose the neurons and the pathways as you get older. But you're basically the smartest in your life is when you're an infant. Anyway, I think I've mansplained enough. I think we should let the ladies.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I was just about to say, Chanel, Blue, women of Elders of the Block, in this episode particularly, what's being said is you know, mansplaining, you know, it's the man's side. Let's hear what you two have to say about all of this, because in some ways I feel like women are the hierarchy of the body that we're visiting in while we're here, you know. But what do you have to say about what Lex brought up and the connection to that Poise brought up?
Yeah, so I want to share that, yes, I definitely agree that our spiritual journey is definitely one that it's first the influence of how we're exposed to our relationship to the highest part of ourselves. And it's something that, you know, a lot of us are born into religion or different practices that really shape our lives. And growing up, I mean, I had all the influences around me, non-denomination, Jehovah's Witness, Buddhist. Like, my mother had a very wide community around her. And I think that helped me as I began to explore my own journey. And, you know, I baptized Catholic when I was born. And then over time, crossed over into Baptist. And then I just left it all alone and said, what is my relationship to the Most High?
Absolutely.
Like, what is my relationship to the Most High? And it's not an energy that's just outside of me. It's an energy force that is within me that exudes from how I show up in my experience, right? And this is definitely one of those conversations where it's a longer conversation, but I am definitely familiar with Michael Beckwith and, you know, the beautiful ministry that they have and how it is very inclusive to all walks of life, you know, and, you know, wherever you come from and whatever you come with, at the end of the day, it is ultimately about your relationship to the divine spirit and how we co-create together. I'm going to pass it on to my sister Chanel just to hear some from her, because I know we have a few more topics to get into. So definitely a great topic, and I want to unpack this a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, absolutely a great topic. I think for myself, you know, I went to Catholic school from K to 8. You know, I was baptized at 13 by choice as an African Methodist Episcopal. And a lot of my family is Baptist, but I think that I became most spiritually inclined was in my journey into adulthood
Mm-hmm.
and the experiences that I have had as an adult.
Yeah.
You know, we have had so many obstacles in life that make you think, you know, for example, you know, when my grandmother passed away, I was 24 years old. I was like, God, you know, whoever, what's going on here? You know, like,
Period.
oh, you know, I got some questions.
The matriarch of our family. What's going on?
What's going on? And from there, I feel like I started, and then, you know, I've learned about the Buddhist culture, about Hinduism. I've learned all these things that for a while made me feel very lost, honestly, for a while, you know, because I didn't know what I felt like, you know, people who are religious or whatever they feel, it's so strong. It's embedded. You know, it's like all or nothing, ride or die. And I had questions. So I felt like maybe I'm not as worthy because I'm not diving so deeply, blindly into things to just step out on faith. You know, I had a whole journey, you know,
Period.
that had a whole lot of questions, and I felt lost for a long time. But what I did notice is that over the obstacles that I faced in my life, I have come to see a variety of lights that I think I'll call them.
Mm.
I cannot say what I attribute it to, but I know that there are things that exist that are supporting me and keeping me safe and reassuring me and giving me the no, don't do that, and the all these things that exist that have protected me for these 36 years. I am now becoming more in tune with them and acknowledging that they exist. So
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, like I said, like everyone feels, we could go so deeply into this, but I think that's where I'm gonna leave it.
Shame.
Yeah, you know, there's a few things that cross my mind about what's being said by everybody here. You know, one of them is uh, the men just said something about this topic. Women just said something about this topic, and we're trying to find out what is it, you know, in particular. And I feel that one of the things that people have done over time is said he or she for a God. Where did that, you know, where did that ever come from in the first place? Was there really someone or something in our past to create that, get the ball rolling? Other than that, is it just, you know, does that show us that men are controlling? Does it show us that we're one-dimensional people when it comes to thinking? You know, that was one thing I was thinking of while you were talking about that, is why have we chose, or why has society chose to say he for so long? You know, it's in a book, you know. That's one thing that I feel faith has been the only thing. I went to Sunday school and I went to church with my mom once in a while. And one day she said, you're old enough to make your own decision. You want to go? I said, no, because I wanted to play on Sunday. My friends were outside playing. I had to go and come back, and that ruined my whole entire day. And when I was there in Sunday school, when I was there in church, everybody's doing these things that I felt were control mechanisms. Didn't know how to understand it that way when I was a child, but that's what I was receiving. And it could have something to do with what Lex said about us coming into the world. The closer you are to your birth, the more of a God consciousness that you actually have. And it deteriorates over time. Well, in some ways, I think some of us in this world, in our lifetimes, we don't really lose it, you know, and Poise understands if I say that I think living your whole life as a child is very similar to saying you're within your God consciousness realm that was available to you when you first came in, you know. You weren't yet told no on anything. You didn't understand prejudice. You didn't understand hierarchy, systems, economy. So none of that mattered. You were in connection to the universe at the least. And so everything that we're talking about right now, I feel like we've experienced what it is to step aside from what faith is. Because I feel like from what we say, we've allowed ourselves to go back into that free spirit and not believe in something that we're told to believe in based on what somebody, like Poi said, someone that's sitting in a chair that's higher than everybody else, wearing a particular type of hat, has a lot of money, is something that's respected. And when you don't look at any of that because it belongs to this physical realm, then it doesn't affect you. It doesn't, you know, people say there's, I'm going to go random here, but people say there's subliminal suggestions in commercials, whether it be a newspaper article, a magazine, or in a commercial. I've never been affected by those. I don't see it. You know, people say they can see those. I don't see them because I don't pay attention to what's provided to me by man, especially when it's synthetic. You know, let's say it's default, but I feel that a lot of times that, you know, let's give a reason why we're talking about this. Well, segregation, separation, isolation, to not include anybody, to have lack of tolerance towards others is because of all of what we're talking about. And so I think the importance of why we, you know, to call it heavy in the first place and to lay it all down as one of the things we've come into in this episode is because it's what divides us all. I can keep going. So Lex, let's come back to you, Poise.
Yeah, I mean,
wrap it up, sum it up.
I mean, it's
touch on it, flip it up.
Hey, Lex, but before you sum it up, there's one big thing that I left out too. And being raised under religion, I always thought that you had to be a good person to receive this power. It has absolutely nothing to do with type of person you are. Everyone has it because there's a balance in everything, the yin and the yang. There's a positive and negative to everything. And once you understand that the battle is not between this heaven and hell, this Armageddon that's going to happen at the end of the world. The battle is between you, your lower and your higher self. And knowing what time to use each parts of those, you know, the lower or the higher self. And once I understood that, that's when I started understanding how all these pieces of ish, you know, have all this, you know, anything that they want, they get it and they have it. I'm like, how could a person like that, you know, I used to be like, how could a person like that have that? They're not excluded from the power. Because like I said, we can all take a drop out of that ocean and we all have different compositions, but we all come from that same power source. So we're never disconnected from it. And that's what religion teaches us, that we're separate from it.
right.
You know, that we're gonna, until we do this for whoever we're worshiping, we're not gonna be, you know, held at whatever level of whatever we're trying to reach. And that's all false. We all have that same power. And a lot of people know about this power and they use it, unfortunately, you know, for whatever reasons they use it. And I'm just I can't even explain it, how how fortunate, I guess that's the word that I'm looking for, that I am to have come into this, realized this, been guided, into the way that I move and the way that I operate, and to know exactly what my power is, and how to give it away. Also, I don't keep this to myself. There's a lot of people that I talk to about this, and sometimes when you talk, you can't talk to everybody about this because they're not ready yet. Some people are not really, ready yet, but it's cool meeting new people and mentioning some things, and then once they've known you for a while, they get to see pretty much everything that you ask for. It comes right to you, and then to watch them start believing in you, that's a real wonderful thing. And yeah, that's all I want to say on that.
That's dope. I mean,
Right on.
back to what you were saying about people that you're like, why do those people have, why are they considered successful in the eyes of the world, but they're operating on that second level, right? They know how to manifest things to
Yeah.
get things, but only for themselves. But
Yep.
it does feel like in order to make that jump into the third or even fourth, you the one thing I think someone once said that, and this, I love this quote. I wish I knew who said it, but it's we're all eternal spiritual beings having a temporary human experience, and
Absolutely.
like, right, like
Yep.
we're just
Definitely.
husks, right? We're just like these meat vessels that are piloted by these, spiritual entities that is our soul. That is the person that listens to our own thoughts, not the one creating those thoughts, but the person observing those thoughts. And I think that, like, getting that one thing, figuring that out, opens the door, at least in my opinion, to stage three, which is, channeling that consciousness through you to be like a conduit of consciousness with others. And then the fourth is just, we're all in this together, we're all connected, and that's the goal. It feels like, to elevate society, humans, into that higher dimension. But it definitely feels like Scribe and Poise, what you were touching on, is that it does feel like there are forces, and like you said, Poise, you can't have one without the other. You can't have,
Hmm.
you can't have pleasure without pain. You can't have happiness without sadness. You can't have,
Yep.
love without hate. And it's unfortunate, but and the more we try to get rid of one or the other, we'll just be chasing our tails infinitely. And it's more about accepting and acceptance, and no less thinking how it should be and more of just what it is. And um, yeah, I think it's definitely deep topics, and I think that that this is the place, to the forum, to bring it up, and not to be afraid to talk about it. Also, that whoever's listening, if you're listening, you are meant to be listening to this right now. That this conversation that we're having means that you're ready to elevate to that higher wavelength, that higher frequency. And
You're
like you
tuned
said, boys,
in, right?
not everybody's
Hmm.
ready for it. So
Mm-hmm. So I got a question for you, Blue.
Yes.
And Chanel, you can tap in on this too. I'd like to hear what you got to say. Um, Being Black women, do you have any recollection before you came into this world, before you were conceived?
Hmm. Not that I remember right now.
Some
Not
people
that I
claim to have
remember.
that ability, right? They have stories. They have stories prior to coming into this world, like
Yeah,
past
I
lives,
don't.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But even a past life would still be, typically they're always talking about past lives of people that were here on this earth. It's not like, there's a few people out there I've come across where they're like, yeah, I used to be so and so. They give a name, and that creature was an alien from another planet. I've heard everything. But what I'm getting at is, I've always wondered about the word pride. You know, people are proud of themselves to be who they are. And it comes from the wearing down over time on being told that you're nothing, being disrespected because of who you are and what you look like on the exterior. But that's why I asked you if you remember ever coming into this world prior to being conceived, because does anybody here on this panel think that we choose who we are when we come into this world? And with that being said, you know, it's a question, because would you want to come into this world as a Black person knowing that this is what's going to happen to you right out the gate? You know what I'm saying? I want to raise that question. I want to ask you, do you have any belief in that? Like, you have control of yourself prior to and while you're here this whole entire time in the physical. What do you feel about that?
Wow.
It goes for me too. I'm gonna be straight out. It goes for me too. I wouldn't want to, if I could choose, I wouldn't want to come into this world as a white man, because I wouldn't want to look like the person that has caused all of the problems in the history of life, of this existence. And that's what I feel white people are, especially a white man. And I don't want nothing to do with it. I'm not here for that. I'm thrown into this. So the question's open for everybody. It's open game, right? I really feel like we don't have control over this. And if somebody does, I'd like to hear their story.
Well, on that note, far as me choosing, you know, my parents and this life before I entered this realm, I pondered that, you know, many years ago when I was really into religion real deep. And one thing that I didn't really come up with an answer for that, but one thing that I do wholeheartedly believe, I do believe that I have lived in past other lifetimes, and I have dreams that are more than dreams to me. And I awake out of certain dream states with pain just so deep from an experience that I had inside of my dream that I know that it's not a dream. It's too vivid. It's too, and I have dreams that I remember from 7th grade, 6th grade. I have hundreds and hundreds of dreams, but I'll give you this one just to give you what type of pain that I'm talking about. I had this dream about 10 years ago that I was in the military, like special forces or some type of issue, and we were at war, and it was at night. And I had my troops. We had our full fatigue gear on. We had the infrared beams on our helmets and all that. We had the laser scopes and all of that. And I'm walking through this terrain, and I see about 15 of my men. And this still messes me up to this day, just thinking about this. And I see the heat sensories of their body hiding down in this bush, and I'm trying to creep over to them, and I'm thinking that it's the enemy. And I get all the way up to them about a good 10 feet from them, and I let them have it with my artillery. I kill every last one of them. And when I finished, I was proud because I was thinking about what they did to my men. And I took my my goggles off, and I realized that I had killed my own men. And that haunted me for weeks. And that type of pain is something that I can't even explain. And I used to be really, really into my dreams. I got to a point to where I could wake up, you know, when I would have a nightmare, and if it was too scary, I could wake up. Or if I was enjoying my dream, I could stay in it and have fun. I would wake up and know how to get back into my dream. But certain dreams like that, I know that they're not just dreams. And whatever, I don't know if it's a bloodline curse or just me being a fucked up person in another life form, but I truly believe that I was a real bad person in another life, because in this life, I've been through a lot of crazy and unnecessary issues, violence, pain, just all types of issues for no reason. You know, so on that note, I don't think I chose, you know, but I do believe that I was here before and I was doing some horrible shit to some people. I truly believe that.
Ladies, let's hear what you got to say. Sound like you kind of got, I don't want to say stumped, but it's kind of one of those things where people don't really get into that, huh? Don't
Well,
analyze themselves
I
deep
don't
enough.
think, I don't even think I feel like I'm afforded the privilege to think about that.
right.
Mm.
I
Like,
just
Okay, so
Deep.
come
I
on,
just had a conversation exactly on this topic like 2 nights ago over a bottle of Hennessy, and it got deep. You know,
Babe.
and it was really interesting to me because so it's funny that it's coming back around again.
Mhm.
And and the person that I was talking to kind of felt like, you know, if given the choice, they might not come back as an African American person, knowing the plight, you know. And for me, I feel like my plight is who I am. You know, I'm very proud of who I am. And I don't know if I'd want to be anything else because I don't know what that experience is. You know, I can't, it's like, okay, is the grass greener on the other side? But I enjoy my grass just fine. Like, this is who I am. I'm a strong Black woman today because of everything that has happened from the beginning of time up until today that has played a part in who I am, the ancestors that I have. And so I'm proud. And there have been some things that make me sad and make me cry to know that has happened to my people. But who else am I supposed to be? Who else am I supposed to identify with? Like, you know, to me, that's where I'm coming from. And no, I don't have any recollection of anything prior to my birth that has played any part in my life. But I will say that the history of my immediate family members, my lineage, and then spanning out to just my people has been the main factors as to why I am who I am on so many levels, why I'm dominant, why I'm aggressive, why I, you know, feel the way I do about men, why I feel the way I do and how I approach relationships. Not all of those things are good, but they are what they are due to the circumstances of what I have been through, and where we've come from, you know. So I think that's
You know, I
if
want
that
to ask you is, and it's all because you're here in this temporary experience that you even have anything of that to say, which is all based on here. There's nothing based on prior to being here, out before you get into that body. You know what I'm
not
saying?
that I know of.
Now,
No.
Oh yeah.
what's important for our viewers to understand why we're having this discussion is that if you come into your body and you experience what you're experiencing, it could be like the greatest times. Like Poi said, you could be a piece of rich person, have a whole lot of money, have a lot of fun, fan base. If you're a man, you got a bunch of women groupies. That's a great time to some people that are stuck in the physical mental state. But if I came into this world the way that I have, and I've excluded myself from all of what has been here waiting for me and oppressed and said, this is how you got to be, pick a side, you know, like we're in prison here. You're going to join the Aryan Brotherhood. You're going to join the Bloods, the Crips, you know, which side are you on? You have to take a side, you know, and that's what I felt as a child. I started to see that develop. And because I chose to stay in that consciousness, that state of consciousness, and actually explore it and expand it and have it connect to its mother, I can connect with Chanel in a way where I'm not hindered on any particular thing. She could do whatever she wants to do and look however she wants to look. I'm gonna have my opinion, but tomorrow I'm still gonna give her a call. We're still gonna hang out. We're gonna be friends to the end. And that's one of the things the Elders of the Block that I feel we've all tapped into. Is nothing new. It's just that we're expressing it through this union called Elders of the Block, which is based on the wisdom of elders. We only know what we know because of our experience here thus far, as well as from the elders that we've had in our lifetime that feel the same way and have passed down what we're saying to you if you're younger, or if you haven't hit that spot yet, if it's making sense but you didn't live it, you know. And that's what this open game, these episodes are all about. So I just wanted to tap into that and share that, give, you know, kind of ask that first question and probe, and then bring it to its conclusion of what I just said. So, you know, welcome. That's why we're here.
For real.
To be here if you're tapping into this channel.
To unpack it. Yeah, because I don't see myself coming here as something else, or have I ever seen myself being here before and then having a memory of that. But I do remember doing exercises about if I could be anything outside of a human, what would I be? And dolphins are my spirit animals, and they're, you know, they're pod animals, and a lot of the pod animals I am definitely very attracted to, because I don't feel like we were designed to be by ourselves. I do know that we were designed to be together. So in any of the visions that I've ever had where I was something else, I was either a dolphin or a bird.
That's dope.
That is dope.
Yeah.
Like that.
So, yeah, but that question, I'm like, wow. I've never thought about that.
Right.
Like, I mean, we talk about, like, because even with my son, right, for example, I'll use my son as an example. Like, he has a very ancient spirit, and he also has an ancient name, right? And he, at 5 years old, told me and my dad, "That's my son and you're my daughter." And then people will say, you know, that's not a child, that's an adult in a child's body. And different things that he does and he says, he feels connected to that other experience prior to coming into this experience. And I have to tell him, since you're 59, tell the 59-year-old to have a seat so that the 7-year-old has pants.
Okay.
Okay. Ask him if he can find that 401k. Ask him if he can find that pension.
Listen, as ancient as he sometimes talk about himself being, I don't even think that those things even existed during his time. But,
that makes me think of something, what you just said right there, Blue, because I believe that we are all looking at one another in a future tense, like we're all the past. We've made it this far with the past. I know I've said something like that to Poise, maybe talk to you about that, Lex, but I think if you guys feel me, the first philosophers, whoever they were here in like the physical realm, in a human body, I feel like they did exactly the same thing as what we're doing. We're testing and we're probing, we're asking questions, we're thinking about things, we're challenging, and we're going to areas that nobody goes to as much as possible. And we're going to do that over time. But what's interesting is that at some point, they were keeping this secret from the majority of people out there. And so their religion was born. And they covered everything up. They, exactly what Poise was saying earlier, they have made contact. We cannot, but we should be faithful 100% to get as close as they can. But for some reason, we don't have thousands of people sitting in those high chairs at the front center stage. We only got one guy at each church. People just don't graduate. What's going on? That's kind of weird, huh? But we're taking it apart. Elders of the Block is dedicated to going back to that day one and making sure that the majority of the people, we're switching things right now as far as I'm concerned. I've always talked about breaking the chains and the cycle. And that even goes to whatever my mother and my father did that I didn't appreciate. You know, I analyze everything, and I'm not your friend if you're going to go the wrong direction from how I see things to be done. And so I had to break cycles of what I felt my family has done or said. Not that that's even an issue, but, you know, just little things, bad habits. You got to break all that stuff. You got to recreate, go back to the original, the first day. So everything that's being talked about right now is so interesting how we're getting responses that we're getting from one another, because it's what you expect to hear. And it's there whether you know it or not, and you've never even talked about it. You're bringing it up regardless. You're finding it. Mm-hmm. It needs to be incited. And I think that's one of the things that's not done with the majority of society, is that they're not challenged. So, I mean, it goes for, it's everything. It's all situations, what we're trying to say. To have this level of consciousness is something that you want. You have to want to have it. It's not going to just happen. So if people are cool with going to church on Sunday, it's not a bad thing. But if you're cool with going to church and having someone tell you what the world is and how it should be done and how you should live your life, but you're not allowed to actually be an equal to those that are telling you these things, it's time to question all of this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting too, because like you look at the history of like how that whole physical structure began. Well, you look at today, you look at churches, you look at courthouses. They're all based on that, like that kingdom monarch structure,
Roman
hierarchy design.
Yeah, and it's just like that's old. Like we can move past that now, but like it's funny how institutions are still stuck on that, where you have a wall behind you, you have the king in his throne, or the preacher in his pulpit, or the judge, you know, at his bench. And the reason why there's a wall behind them is because back in the day, kings would need to sit with a wall behind them so nobody would come and stab them and try to take out the king. You know, they're paranoid because they're trying to maintain control and power. And so
that's why you stand against the wall when you go to a club.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
maintain control and power.
Low dimensional thinking, you know, and like what you were saying, Scribe, is that what we're doing. I think this is, you know, I know church is like a bad word kind of, and I grew up going to church and temple, and back to what Chanel was saying too, I don't know, for obvious reasons, I don't know what it's like to be black, but I do know what it's like to grow up Jewish. I hope I don't lose you, any of you here, you know, because I know a lot of people have certain feelings about, you know, Judaism or Jews in particular. But yeah, you know, it's different. It's different. It's a different kind of discrimination. You know, it's, for me, it was like people not knowing that I was Jewish and saying horrible things, and then having to tell them after the fact that, oh yeah, well, you know, like I just hearing like horrible things, and having to lose people. So I can operate like a dual operator. People, you know, been in certain situations where, you know, yeah, people don't know, and it hurts. You know, it really, especially having grandparents that fled the Holocaust. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a different, it's a different, you know, kind of thing, but I think that can certainly relate in terms of like just that feeling of that sickness feeling of like finding out somebody like hates you because of who you are and didn't choose to be born as, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's, yeah, it makes me sick personally to my stomach. But
yeah,
I'll stop rambling.
No, it's not rambling. It's all necessary. Like you said earlier, we're speaking about this, and what's coming out is supposed to come out.
Yeah. Yeah, and even expressing that to Amun Ra, like the power of actualization and just lower self versus higher self. And some people operate from more of their lower self. You know, Scribe was on the line with us when we had experienced some, you know, pretty intense trauma. And at the end of the day, you know, the question is like, why do people do bad things? And it's about lower energy and higher energy. And when you are in a higher frequency of energy, you're operating from you know, a different degree of consciousness. And that lower energy is something that is taking you to lower places, an energy field that is not so pleasant. So when we, even in talking about like the experiences that we have and how people can treat people cruel based off of their, you know, religious beliefs, their, you know, background, how they identify. It's really about energy fields, and either you're doing things to get your energy fields, you know, raise your energy fields, but to be, right? Like, what is it to be, and not be constricted or confined by someone else's narrative of who you are to be or what it is for you to choose.
Totally. No, that's
Yeah.
really well said. I mean, I think Blue, I think you really like you're on the money, and I think part of that awakening of like while we're on the topic is awakening to not coming from the mindset of like I didn't choose to be this person, but what Poise was saying earlier about being that drop in the ocean is that actually like we all come from the source, and in a weird way, like the awakening for me was wait, I did choose this life. Like I did choose my parent. Like my whole life I thought, this is a meaningless existence and I'm here and I didn't choose this and my parents made me and I didn't ask to be born and this, that, and the other, until hitting that awakening, like, no, wait, I actually did choose this. Like it's a weird thing where you just kind of your crown chakra or whatever just opens up and you just go, whoa, like you just get the download of everything, and then you're like, oh, that's how it really is. And like back to what Poise was saying too about dreams, I know people aren't keen sometimes on like, at least for me, in a workplace, I tell people my dreams, they walk away, they don't want to hear it. But like, I feel like with you all, like you can understand how intense and meaningful dreams really are, because it is connecting to that source. And in a weird way, it's almost like life is like a waking dream, and that when you die,
Mm-hmm.
you just wake up to another reality. I mean, it's a very strange thing just being lucid in this life, to the point where I feel like what we were talking about earlier about channeling and manifesting, it's almost like being lucid within a dream and controlling that dream is the same way in this life. You can hit that stage 2 or stage 3 and manifest and control things. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a weird thing,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't really scientifically break it down, but we all know and feel like that there's something going on there.
Part of this unified body and unified realm of power that really does its divine work when we choose to show up.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it like it's so many things are coming to my mind right now. I'm like, divine, like, wow, this is it. And you know, living in a time as such, and living where I was in doing lesson with Amin Ra, you know, I'm like, we were reading about being born and raised in Frisco, and from different people's perspective of what being born and raised in Frisco means, and what that looks like when you live in one part of San Francisco from another part of San Francisco. And when you go down the timeline of talking about what the local stores were in your neighborhood, what types of things the children got into, and you know, what memories you have of like Candlestick Park, and Candlestick Park doesn't even exist anymore. You know what I mean? He lives in an era where we got Pac Bell Park and the new Chase Center. You know what I mean? Like Candlestick Park, where the Giants and the 49ers play, that's a thing of the past, you know? However, it's a new realm of experience and a new realm of reality. But when he was listening and he's like, oh, La Raza, I go to La Raza skate park. And I'm like, right. So those, you know, bringing that before and that now, and then what that creates, right? And then what opens up in order for there to be like dialogue and an exchange of information and communication and process and perspective. So this is I'm really grateful for Elders of the Block in many ways. And you know, on the journey that we've been on, I can definitely attest to Poise expressing like, this is what's happening. You might think I'm crazy, right? That whole piece, like you might think
for real.
But this is the language that I speak. And when you speak a language that is not popular, then that's when it may come to someone as crazy. However, you know, when you are amongst your tribe and you can unpack some things that you've been thinking, or maybe you did have a dream and you're like, what did that mean? And then now we're in this conversation and you're like, oh, I get it. I remember, you know, so it's just thought provoking. And I'm just, like I said, really grateful that we have all decided to collaborate in creating this platform in order for there to be multiple perspectives shown and you know, different walks of life represented in this space.
Definitely.
Yeah, so we covered a really a wide variety of that 4 levels of consciousness, huh?
Yeah.
We got a good one in there. So let's throw in some plugs, folks. Anybody got a plug they want to throw in right now? Chanel, let's get to you in just a second, because that's a different kind of thing. Boys, did you have one?
No, I didn't even get to it, man.
Lex, how about you?
I mean, if we're open to shameless plugs, I got a Bandcamp page for some beats. You just go to Bandcamp/Lex Lion. Back to what Blue was saying, her spirit animal is a dolphin, mine's the lion. Hear me roar.
Okay.
There you go. Blue, you got some plugs? What's coming up?
There's always a lot happening. Very grateful for just an unlimited, you know, network and resources. So yesterday I was blessed with the honor and the privilege to be with the Circle of Eight, which is a network for mothers and families grieving from tragic losses. And I'm going to have a poise moment where I got to go grab something real quick. I'll be right back.
For sure.
Poise moments. All right, so from now on, it's going to be known as a poise moment.
It was real quick, right?
Yep.
So, one of my, you know, gifts that I don't give as much attention to, but I really appreciate when I do get the opportunity to do art and how therapeutic it is for me. But the Circle of Eight is about honoring families that have lost loved ones to tragic loss. And a dear ancestor that's very close to my heart is my nephew Torian, and his birthday is going to be coming up on October 20th. And his mother and I were having a conversation, Audrey Candy Corn, about having a celebration in honor of him. So yesterday we were recording the video trailer for All Heroes Don't Make It Home, which is a collective of stories from families sharing about their hero that didn't make it home and what life has basically been like thereafter. So last night I got home at like 3 o'clock in the morning And I told Amin Ra, go in the room. Actually, no, he had a moment earlier, and I asked him to bring Torian's obituary to the table, and it was sitting on the table. And last night when I got in, I just began to draw.
Mm.
And if you can see here, this is the illustration that came. That's Torian himself. And we're gonna do his celebration on October 24th. And it's Take a Stand to Dance Against Violence. So on October 24th, we're trying to figure out, I sent this to Audrey this morning and she called me and she was like, I want to use this as the flyer. And I was like, yo, I'm totally open to it. But, you know, art is therapeutic, it's healing, and it's a way to truly be liberated in freely expressing whatever's inside of you that you want to get out. So the plug tonight is for the Circle of Eight. Very honored to be a board member also with the Circle of Eight, and to create space, collective space, where we share from the essence of who we are and be filled in that space. And when you're not filled, come and get filled. So please be looking out for Circle of Eight, new book, All Heroes Don't Make It Home. And on October 24th, the time hasn't been stamped on this piece yet, but actually, you know what, it may happen. Let me check something really quick. Thank you.
Very nice. I wish I had the chance to meet him.
Yeah, he's a beautiful young. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I would like to give a shout out to One World Magazine and talk about what they're doing up there. Pittsburgh, California folks. One World Magazine is ran almost by a one-man show. Not to get too much into detail about that, but you'll learn a lot more. Tap into One World Magazine. You can catch them on Instagram, see what they're up to. The next issue of One World Magazine's now available for pre-order. And that's going to be at www.galacticdistro.com, GALACTIC, Galactic Distro, DISTRO, galacticdistro.com. The inclusion for this particular issue is going to be Cormega, The Good People, Agerman, Doobie, Young Pharaoh, Tone Capone, Tobin Costin, Russ Jux, The Jacka, rest in peace, Cassandra Rose, Elders of the Block, and many more. It's going to drop in, I was told 10 days or so, and that was like a few days ago. So I'd say give a good solid week, check in. You can do pre-orders right now at galacticdistro.com. Tune into One World Magazine on all platforms, I'm sure, and see what's happening. There's a lot of people that's getting interviews. There's a lot of publication going on. It's a real official magazine that's being printed physically, and it's out there in stores. It's out there in your neighborhoods. Check it out. Let them know, tap in with them. Let them know if you want to get that magazine for yourself, get a subscription, or get some copies in your store if you got a store. Much appreciated. So look out for One World Magazine.
Shout out to Caesar.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Chanel, what you got coming up? Let's talk about a segment that you want to introduce.
Absolutely. So I am working on a segment called The Naked Hour, in which we will discuss a variety of topics, but the main point is to be transparent about what we are getting into. It'll be mostly geared towards, relationships, couples, who we are as people in relationships as well as individually, sexuality, just becoming one with self. And as much as we are willing to expose and about our experiences that we've had so far and our expectations and desires.
And wait, and wait.
Provocative.
And that's the grown folks come.
Yeah,
You
you
go
know, that's
to a
the
sample
after
question.
Learn how to
hours.
be grown, baby.
Oh damn! I
Who
thought we
has
were
a-
all getting naked.
I'm already naked from the waist down. You just don't know.
That's a lot of information.
I
I
was
Oh,
feel
like,
bad
please.
for your
TMI.
chair. Your
Hey,
chair
so
is sad.
anybody got a sample question for her?
Well, I have one for you, actually, for all of
Me?
you as a group.
Okay.
Okay,
So I
okay.
wanted to discuss gender role expectations in 2020 as it pertains to your relationship. When you're in one, or what you've experienced and what your expectations are. Some people still live in ancient times. Some people are very liberal. And I just want to know where you stand with your gender role expectations in your relationship.
Okay. So, I feel like I'm old school. I feel like I'm liberal, and I feel like I'm open to create what my partner and I agree upon. I seen growing up, I come from being raised with my grandparents, where my grandfather, my grandmother's business was home based. My grandfather's job was out in the field. He was a longshoreman. And I seen them collaborate in a way where as long as we have a record of what we need to take care of to run this household, I can respect what you're willing to do, and I can accept what you're not willing to do. Right? But it was also a structure where there were multiple people involved in caring for the home. Right? It wasn't just my grandmother and my grandfather. There were my aunties that lived at my grandparents' house, cousins that lived at my parents' house. The girls, I do feel like, ended up doing more domestic chores and contributing more to the domestic, and the boys kind of would just like chill and not have to take as much of a responsibility. And then directly in my mother's home, it was just her. So it was just us.
Did it all.
Right? And that's my situation now, right? Where I do it all. And when I've invited a man to come in to my space, it hasn't lasted long enough in order for me to truly establish that design the design in my heart that I truly acquire or desire. Right. Yeah. So that's my spin on it. And I feel like men can be just as domestic as women. And I feel like it really boils down to what the two parties end up agreeing upon.
Yeah.
Quick question before I spin it to the three of you gentlemen. I have a specific question for my love Blue.
Yes.
Do you feel like you could tolerate a relationship in which you were the breadwinner and the gentleman was like the domesticated person?
Yes.
Now, is that only because he looks really cute?
Shut the front door. No.
Is that only because, I'm serious, is that only because he's like really fine looking guy?
Nah, that's because we get to redefine what we need in order to sustain ourselves, you know? And in redefining that, if I'm in a position to generate the income for our household and for our family, if we are in a partnership and a collaboration where we respectfully honor each other in what we do to sustain our home and our life and our family and our community, like, I'm not about to like dog you out because you may not make as much money as me. I just don't think that that's fair. I don't think that that's equal or fair. Right. And I don't want to be treated that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
right,
because
exactly.
I don't want to be treated that way, you know, because I mean, I do choose like to, prior to pandemic, homeschool and not be in my full career path because I'm choosing to nurture and care for my child more than it's about me making money. So, you know, it's really one of those things where it really depends on who you're with and what the two of you end up agreeing upon is really where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, Blue. Thanks for saying that. It's important that men out there take responsibility for their child, their children. And that goes across the board. If you have children with 2 or more women, you know, the only way you should be doing anything like that is because you're going to take responsibility for the children being here and in need of a father figure. You know, there's no, well, you know, I had my time, or that's not my kid, you know, and I'm saying this easily. I don't have any children. I'm saying this easily. I understand that it's a whole different thing when it happens and you get into a really bad funk with the woman or vice versa, and then you just kind of don't want anything to do with the future. That includes the child. But, you know, sometimes Poise told me, and I haven't heard it prior to that, is hurt people hurt people. And now it sticks with me. It makes a lot of sense, you know. So you have all of these young men out there, and even middle-aged in some cases, where they go out and they do these things because they're hurt people. And so hurting people isn't always what they want to do, but hurt people hurt people. That's just, there's no other way of looking past that. It happens. And unfortunately, we're talking about not just people, but we're talking about a father and a child. We're not just talking about like, you know, Poise hurt my feelings, or he beat me up the other day, and you know, those, you know, physical or mental, spiritual types of hurt and pain, but the effect that you have on people, it continues. Because if you're a father and then you remove yourself from that responsibility because of some choice that you made based on your own, or the combination of yours and hers don't get along anymore, something happened, there's got to be a plan B out there. You have to look into having children with a plan A, B, C, D, and E. You know, there has to be ways that you keep showing, doing the right thing and not giving up. Sometimes we have a mother who just, I've got friends out there who got all kinds of different stories of what happened. But, you know, when it comes down to it, really what I was getting at is that there's a responsibility between a man and a woman, and procreation is not really a responsibility. It's something that is a part of nature that exists. But, you know, we have the ability to put our hand into fire if we choose to, and keep it there and have the consequences. But we choose to remove it because there's a pain. Well, you know, why do people feel disconnected from what a child coming into this world and not having a father or a mother or a union or a family? But you can control that, and you feel like you're removed from it because it's not your hand. You know, it's not your life. That child is their own person. They're going to be more like their mom. They ain't a part of you. It's probably not my child anyway. It's probably some other 5 other dudes you slept with. You hear it all, you know, especially through television with Maury Povich and all that stuff, and you know those shows. But
Chanel,
the responsibility.
go ahead.
I was gonna say the responsibility is much needed. You know, consequences for your actions. We got to reinvent how we deal with poor fathers. You know, men who choose to not be. They want to be a part of everything when it comes to women, but they don't want to be there for what the whole point of a man-woman relationship is. You know.
The union of man and woman. I know Chanel wanted to ask you guys a question. So
it was the same one. The gender roles in the relationship. And if that, like, what your feelings are and how they meet with your relationships that you've had. Like, do you feel so, for example, my grandmother was the breadwinner. She went out and worked every day for the Superior Court of San Francisco. And every day my grandfather cooked and served her. So that's what I saw in the household. Now, he had his ways of making money as well. They just weren't traditional 9 to 5. You know, he raised me. I spent a lot of time with him. But what I did see was breakfast and dinner, and on the weekends, lunch as well, served, plated. This is your drink, ice in it, fork and knife.
Period.
Mhm.
The work.
Right.
No.
You know, that big old steak. So I think that for me, at times, I can require some things that are not traditional when it comes to the makeup of my household and my relationship.
Yeah. So how has that been for you?
No, you know, it has its challenges.
Right.
I think that sometimes my dominance is a big deal, you know, but that comes from me seeing a lot of domestic violence in my life. So now I have this big problem with aggressive men. You know, if you're aggressive, I'm even more aggressive because you're not going to out aggressive me. And I'm dealing with those things, but I kind of take an inventory on myself to see where my issues have come from, where they derive from, how they've gotten here.
Right.
So my expectations gender-wise and the gender roles, they're a little bit different than the regular average person probably.
Yeah, I definitely get that. So gentlemen,
Exactly.
I just have something quick to say because I already said what I said, but I don't think, you know, this is my belief. I don't think a man should get involved with a woman if he's not willing to serve, you know, be part of her life. You know, it's if you don't have long-term thoughts with a woman, you shouldn't be laying up with her. You shouldn't be having kids. You shouldn't be using women. And I feel it goes the other way too, because sometimes things are done through just appearance, how you feel about somebody. And that doesn't help because a lot of times you never really got a chance to really know each other. And so when she does get pregnant, whether it was planned or not, then there's this funk that I was talking about earlier because you didn't get a chance to know each other. It was just based off of your looks. You were just attracted, you know, externally. So I feel like any relationship that I went into, they've all been relationships where if she ever became pregnant, we had children, I would want that. It would be fine. Like I would never be like, what? Are you sure? You know, it would just be like, oh, you know, it would be a great thing to me. I would feel like you can continue and you'd have more of a reason to because you're bringing a family. You know what I'm saying? You're starting a family with. That's what I feel like men too. I wish I can appoint that to all men. So I'm gonna point that to all men.
Boys, I'll let you go.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, another great topic, and I think I'm a great. I think I'm a great. Yeah, I'm a great guy to answer this one. I happen to be in a relationship where my wife is the breadwinner. Um, we met in Oakland. I was working for Everett and Jones, famous black restaurant in Oakland, off in Embarcadero. And I don't give them any props because they treat their own people pretty bad. But ironically, one day I wanted to get off work early, and I was like on my boss's ass. And literally 20 minutes after I left, Usher came to my spot where I was serving. So I could have been kicking it with Usher there. But anyway, I met my wife. She was working for Pandora at the time, and before that she worked for Yahoo. So my girl was a brain. I got into a bad car accident a few years ago. Went to LA for the first time. Ironically, hadn't been there in about 29 years, and the last time I was there, I ended up taking someone's life. Unfortunately, 29 years later, I go back. My first time, I went to the hospital 3 times and got into a car accident 1 hour before a performance and messed my back up for about 2 years. So I'm an extremely strong person for my size, always have been. I used to be able to lift more on a bench press sitting up than most people could laying down. And after the car accident, I could barely take a gallon of water out of the refrigerator. That's how heavy the gallon was to me. So I was in like a real deep fear of me not healing. You know, that scared the shit out of me, especially being an athlete all my life, me and my uncle, and thinking that I won't be able to do things that I like doing, like climbing and jumping over walls and shit at 53. You know, I'm a very active person. But that really scared me, that really scared me pretty bad. My back didn't get well for over a year, for about a year and a half, to where I actually started feeling my strength and I could do like a few push-ups here and there. But my wife, fiance at the time, we were staying in Milpitas, and I rented out, one of our rooms, to bring in some extra money because obviously I couldn't work. And then I ended up, Scribe was staying with me, and then I ended up moving a youngster into the house, to get a little more extra money. And one thing about my wife, she never made me feel like I wasn't doing my part in any way whatsoever, which was very important to me. We have a wonderful relationship. I actually love cleaning anyway. So I actually used to make videos before I got off of Facebook showing guys how to improve their relationship by making your wife happy, my girlfriend at the time. So I would do things like I would clean up the living room or the kitchen or whatever I would do, and I would film it and show guys, this is what you do to make your woman happy, So we have a great relationship. She no longer works for Pandora. She works for dictionary.com or Pictionary.com. And yeah, our relationship is wonderful. Like I said, I haven't worked almost going on 3 years right now, and every time when I'm about to do something happens. So this Pandora shit, we were on tour and
yeah, not Pandora.
Yeah, it's Corona crap. Excuse me.
The pandemic, not
Pandora. The Pandora. I said the Pandora shit. But Pandora is an evil word, though. That's funny. But yeah, it hit. The Corona hit like Pandora's box, and just took me in a whole nother direction. And we're both very appreciative of each other's talents and our partnership that we have together. And we're very different, but we complement each other so well. Like Chanel was saying, she's an aggressive woman. My girl is like she's like the opposite of aggression. You know, I have certain aggressions to me, but I can go either way. I'm like I'm like a chameleon. I'm an introvert and an extrovert at the same time, if that makes sense. If I see a crowd of 100 people, I want to be in the center. But during this Pandora, it hasn't really.
Yes.
Yeah, this Pandora during this pandemic, you know, being cooped up in the house really hasn't affected me as much as it has most men. Because being a producer, this is pretty much what we do anyway. We sit up in studios all day, you know, all night. So I'm kind of like in my comfort zone, but I do miss people. But getting back to the gender roles. Yeah, I was raised traditionally as, you know, the man does this, the man does that, the man pays the bill, the man this, the man that. And I remember reflecting before, you know, I got married many years ago of what type of wife I would want, you know, what type of job I would want to have to be able to take care of her, so on and so forth. And right now, like I said, that's our roles. That's our roles. Yeah, she is the breadwinner, and I brags my ass off about it. My girl is a boss. She's really a boss, but she's dope. She's dope as fuck. And once again, she's never made me feel uh, less than in any way financially as well as any other way. You know, she's very supportive as we both are to each other. And we have a wonderful relationship. I really adore our relationship and the way that we mesh. Yeah, and I'm open to any questions. That's it.
I just want to say really quickly that I think a great indicator of a strong positive relationship is how you just bragged on your girl. Like, I think that right there was so genuine.
Yeah.
And it made, I saw Blue smile and I smiled.
I can't
Yeah.
see Blue. Wait, y'all can see Blue? I haven't seen Blue for over an hour.
Oh,
What?
Yeah, I thought she was hiding. But go ahead, sis. Sorry.
yeah, I just thought that was like a really cool indicator of like a really strong relationship when you're like, man, my girl, let me tell you, you
Yeah,
know,
my
so that
girl is a boss. Thank you. And I normally
really
tell
cool.
people this, but I don't like bragging. I tell people like I said, she worked for Yahoo before Pandora, and she's an obvious brain, but my girl doesn't have like any major degrees. You know, what she has is autism. So she's
Very nice.
I call all of my friends, like literally Lex, if you guys knew all the stuff that Lex did, all the shit that Scribe did, I don't call them regular people, they're X-Men. You like my dudes are X-Men, and my girl, she's an X-woman, you know, superpowers. So
Yeah.
so,
Cool.
yeah, that part. So she's hella dope. She's hella dope.
That definitely is something too, that really jerked a smile out of me, as Chanel noticed. It's like when a man can speak very highly of his woman and be, you know, proud to say like, and I don't give a fuck. She make, excuse my language, but she make the money and I support however it works for us.
Exactly.
That's what it really boils down to. It boils down to what works for y'all.
Yep.
As long as y'all ain't beating each other down and, you know,
Exactly.
driving each other into the ground, and you're creating, you know, a safe space and a sanctuary for you and your family to come in, like that's magic.
For sure. And it does. I won't say that on my part, I did have to work with my ego a little bit, you know, after the car accident and not being able to work. You know, I did go through a few things, but you know, I had to talk to myself and realize that I really had a genuine woman that really wasn't tripping off of that shit at all. You feel me? So that made my little male institutionalized way of thinking, it made me sit back and reevaluate, you know, that and actually be appreciative to be not only with the person that I'm with, but to be in a situation and in a position that I'm in, you know, to really embrace it. I guess that's the word that I'm looking for, to really embrace it instead of, you know, getting into that other crap, you know, the way that we're raised with this traditional, this should be this is how a real man is, this is what happens in or whatever, you know, whatever philosophies people have with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Lexus on you,
Yeah,
brother.
chime in over here.
What?
Mhm.
I'm with you on that, all of you. This is why I'm glad I waited to go last, because now I got all the good tips. My girl's right there.
Let's go.
Never happened to me. She's a
Yes,
super.
yes.
She's an ex-woman for sure.
That's what's up.
We got to figure out which. Well, she's the legal mind. She's a lawyer, so she definitely makes more than.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely like with you on the projected gender roles that
Mm-hmm.
we all grew up in, like feeling like, the masculine protector, provider, dominator, controller, all that crap. It's just stifling because you're not allowing your partner in your relationship to really show and prove how they can be a protector, a dominator, a provider. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely.
we all
Yep.
like share the love, let everybody. So I can speak for our
For
relationship
real.
that we try to go everything as a partnership, and that it's 50-50, and we try to throw all those stereotypes out the window. I mean, there's things that we enjoy to do, like I like to chop wood, like that's there's certain things that like guys like to do, and
You look like you like to chop wood.
it's very therapeutic, let me tell you.
For
But
sure.
I agree.
like certain fixing things around the house and stuff like that. There's certain things that like we sometimes men can gravitate towards, and there's no shame in that. But like,
No.
but yeah, I'm with you. Like we trying to stick to these boxes and like you are this gender, you do that, you are. I mean, it's ridiculous. Us as people, we've tried those role. We've tried like the 50s style households, right? Where it's like the man goes to work all day, drinks himself to death, works himself to death, and comes home
Mm-hmm.
and takes out all his stress and frustration on his
Just on the
woman.
woman.
It's just like why are we doing that? And that's what I love about these conversations that we're all having is that we get to break these things down, and we get to kind of open up these topics so to just show, at least for the younger crowd, you don't have to do this anymore. You don't have to assign or
Exactly.
ascribe these ways of working that don't feel right to your gut, that you feel like, or your soul. Like, I feel like this is, it's like, then don't do it. There's other ways of doing things,
Exactly.
Right.
so yeah, I love my girl. She's the best thing ever happened to me. And
That's awesome.
For sure.
rules that we live by is just never do anything to hurt the other person, intentionally or unintentionally. Always try to live by that, and
Not sure.
and always look at it that we benefit each other's life, not bring each other down.
Absolutely.
Even in the small things. Like we were just gifted her mother just gifted us a Roomba. Those little vacuum cleaners. Right? So we think we're all fancy because we got the robot vacuum cleaner. And so like, when I go to work,
Fancy, huh?
we've all experienced at work getting micromanaged, right? Can anybody attest to that experience, getting
Oh
micromanaged
yeah.
by a boss? Okay.
Yep.
So we've all been micromanaged by a boss. So I personally have never really had the opportunity to micromanage. Not that I want to, but I find myself micromanaging the Roomba because I hover over it and I'm like, oh, you missed a spot. You missed a spot. But if I'm vacuuming, it's hella spots. But the Roomba, it's so much easier to judge, someone else doing the work, the Roomba.
Yep.
And so anyway, the point being is just doing that shadow work, right? Because I catch myself like, oh, I'm micromanaging a Roomba. That's not a good personality trait. I need to work on myself. They're robots. Just let things be. Let people be.
Mm-hmm.
That's hilarious, man.
That's some deep medicine right there.
For real.
Definitely.
Hey, you should reenact the legend of John Henry, but for sweeping, and battle the Roomba.
Yeah. Well, Chanel, I'm really grateful for you opening up this part of the conversation, because it's a conversation that is definitely very much needed in our society today.
Yep.
Because I feel like a lot of times, based off of old traditions and old ways of getting along that are truly not in alignment with how we operate and coexist today in this society where there's lots of over sexuality, and there's all this freedoms to definitely be who you are. Yeah, that is really confusing for people.
Definitely.
And there's all this like everything's for everybody, and it's just like, no, actually I do operate this way. And if between the partner and I that I have, if we are not on one accord, we got to figure it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
I think it all depends on how willing both parties are to get through that area of time where you're seeing what the expectations are and where you don't meet them. I think that's like the biggest part, is seeing where you don't meet the expectations, because if you exceed them, that's awesome. And you're never going to argue about, those things.
period.
It's the others, and seeing how willing each party is to get through it.
Yeah.
Typically
Right.
it ends because one or both have decided that they have put in as much energy as they're willing to, and that's that. Not to say that putting in enough energy will make it work. Just saying, it's one of two things: either it was never going to work because y'all are just not the match, or it could have worked,
Right.
but you didn't put in enough energy to make it.
That's right. That's right.
But
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that we got to talk about, one of my topics.
So say again, what's the name of the segment?
It's called the Naked Hour.
The Naked Hour.
The
All right, we
Naked
all got
Hour.
naked during that
did.
segment right now. So
We definitely did, and let's continue to stay naked.
you know what I like about that too is it goes hand in hand with the word transparent. Naked,
Yes.
transparent. I like that. So there's a lot of play on words in there. Good job. Good job on the title.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
The Naked Hour.
Can't
There's
wait
gonna
till
be-
our next show.
I know there's going to be many.
Mhm.
And just wait till we have guests on your show. That's going to be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yes, absolutely.
All ready to wrap it up?
Mhm.
Yes.
Sure thing.
Sure.
All right.
Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in of Open Game, another night with the elders of the block.
Yes,
Episode
yes.
2.
Episode 2.
So true.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. We love you. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful night.
Mhm.
Closing remarks, anybody?
One.
Are we all gonna do it on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3, and we're gonna throw it up 2 times. Hey!
Peace.
If you don't stand up, then we ain't nothing.